time trying to get your hands on the Holy Grail. And for Adelaide and Sydney, Joe Healy, this is it. Hello and welcome. What an atmosphere.
This is absolutely incredible. The energy in this building is already electric. We've got the top two teams in the entire competition. We've got the two best players in the competition. There are showmen, there are villains, there are goats. I cannot wait for this.
This is what it's all about. Game one, Kudos Bank Arena going absolutely nuts. It's the Kings and the 36ers, and it starts now.
Welcome to the NBL season's final act. Every triumph, heartbreak, and sacrifice has led us to this stage. But to etch your name in history, you must step into the spotlight and perform under the bright lights. Tonight, two of the NBL's best take to the loudest stage. Kendrick Davis, Sydney Spark.
Audacious from Kendrick Davis.
In pursuit of his maiden NBL championship, ready to go blow for blow with rival Bryce Cotton.
Cotton with 14 points. Unstoppable.
With another MVP in his bag, a championship in his first year as a 36er would cement his legacy as the greatest of the modern era. Speaking of legacy, Brian Gordon, the maestro, stepping onto the stage for a 14th time and chasing title number 7. With a deep roster and 2 finals MVPs, can he have these Kings return to the NBL throne? His challenger, Mike Wells, has come face to face with greatness and knows what it takes to hold a championship aloft. Can he inspire these 36ers and secure Adelaide their first championship in 24 years? It's opening night, Sydney, Adelaide. NBL 26 Championship Series, the loudest stage. Game 1 starts now.
An incredible atmosphere inside Kudos Bank Arena tonight. The Sydney Kings come into the championship series as the #1 seed, and they have home court advantage. They have been the team to chase for the back half of this season, and they go into game 1 tonight as red-hot favourites. But Bryce Cotton and the Adelaide 36ers have certainly got other ideas. Hello and welcome to the loudest stage, and I mean that quite literally because it is pumping inside Kudos Bank Arena. I'm Jack Heverin, the GOAT Andrew Gaze alongside me. What about this atmosphere, Andrew
Yeah,
Gaze?
it's spectacular. We were there for game 3 in Adelaide, and those Adelaide fans went completely berserk, and it was a fantastic atmosphere. It's like the Sydney family have seen that and said, we need to raise it to a new level. It's an exciting atmosphere to be playing a game of basketball in. And you mentioned the Sydney Kings. I would predict they're a little nervous about this one. Sure, they swept the Perth Wildcats, but they had a few players down. And of course, when you've got the MVP that you're going up against, they would have some concerns.
Tell us what's going through the mind of Bryce Cotton right now. There's Kendrick Davis, but from a Bryce Cotton perspective, he changes teams in the off-season.
Yeah.
He's just here to win championships from here on in. What would he be thinking right now?
Well, Bryce is going to be a little nervous because if you look at the games throughout the course of the season, his numbers are well down, only averaging 16 points a game against the Sydney Kings, only shooting at 36%. But cop this, Jack, only at 23% from the three-point line. Now, that was some time ago, and when you look at the little maestro able to shake and bake and get the defense off balance, he is a tough guy to stop. The toughest we've seen in a long, long time in this league.
Have a look at those numbers in the playoff series so far. It's ridiculous to be averaging 36 points a game at this time of year.
It is, and it's a different kettle of fish when you're up against Brian Gordon, though. He's going to double team him. He's going to try and keep the ball out of his hands. He's going to try and whack him in the right way. Every time he cuts, he's going to have someone tagging him to make life as difficult as they can for him to touch the ball.
So that's the Adelaide 36ers perspective, but you can bet your bottom dollar that Kendrick Davis and the Sydney Kings have got other ideas. Over to you, Joe Healy and Derek Rucker.
Absolutely right, Jack. Thanks so much for that. This is an insane occasion to be at, D. Now, watching the two teams in warm-up, I actually found it kind of hard to get a gauge on how they're feeling. Obviously, a few nerves, a little anxiety. How did you read it?
Yeah, it's always tough in these situations because both teams have gone through processes to get them here that have taken a lot of hard work. So right now, you're just trying to get yourself regulated, ready to play basketball, not be nervous, and go with the proper intensity right from the tip-off.
We've just heard the tale of the tape for the Adelaide 36ers. It starts with Bryce Cotton. For the Sydney Kings, it starts with Kendrick Davis.
Kendrick Davis is an outstanding, dominant, ball-handling basketball player. He could have been MVP this year, and if he had won it, there would have been no argument from anyone. But tonight, he must show what he's worth in a championship series, facing Bryce Cotton, the man that he was quite vocal about winning the MVP over him. Look, Davis has great support, though. He's got Dellavedova, he's got Cooks, and he's got a red-hot McQuatch, Malowatch. This is going to be an amazing series.
It is. It's game one tonight. We heard Pete Hawley say before that it's a bit of a pre-hit for the 36ers potentially moving on.
Oh, I think I've got Sydney right here in game one. I think they'll come out hard. Their defensive intensity may be a bit too much for Adelaide right here tonight.
Well, they've got a six-man in this crowd here at Kudos Bank Arena. It is absolutely heaving. It is a pleasure to hand you back to Jack for the call.
It is our honour and privilege to be here tonight at Kudos Bank Arena, Joe. Thank you very much. It's my honour and privilege to sit alongside the greatest ever, Andrew Gase. Drewy, from a Sydney Kings perspective, they had a sweep of their playoff series against the Perth Wildcats. They certainly didn't have it all their own way, but Torrey Craig, the man on screen right now, who's got NBA experience, has played on the biggest stage before.
Yeah.
How important is he as that support cast to Kendrick Davis?
No, he's big, and what a luxury it is to have a guy like that coming off the bench that can provide versatility. He can fix problems out on the court at both ends. He can score, but defensively, he can guard 1 through 5. So he is going to be big, as is Quatnoy, who really has had his last 4 or 5 games haven't been to the standard that we normally come to expect. So they've got a few guys that are coming off the bench that they're going to have to rely on.
Derek Rucker, great to have you alongside us. We can see Isaac Humphries there, the big man in the middle for Adelaide, number 8. The journey started for Isaac with the Sydney Kings. How important is he tonight?
Well, we saw what happens when Isaac Humphries gets a good contribution. He had 13 points the other night in game 3, Andrew, and I thought his effort, his intensity were really good. Look to the Sixers to get the ball to him early. I believe Sydney may be a little bit vulnerable if Tim Suarez gets in the foul trouble.
Starting fives for both teams. Cotton Vasiljevic starting again after a sensational game 3 on Tuesday. Flynn Cameron, Zylan Cheatham and Isaac Humphries for the Sydney Kings. Jalen Galloway will be out there alongside Matthew Dellavedova, Xavier Cooks, Kendrick Davis. And this is as good as it gets. This moment right here, the 20 seconds before tip-off in front of a huge crowd, where a season culminates in the chance to be here on the loudest stage of all. Shout out to the 3 men in charge for game 1. Ken Widgeon in his first championship series, Chris Reed in series number 9, and Vaughn Mabry in championship series number 20. It's what it's all about. Championship basketball. And it starts now with the Sydney Kings in possession, who have barely played in the last month because at the end of the season and then the playoff sweep, there may be some rust early on for the number 1 seed. Galloway catch and shoot. Jumps out late. Good look first up for the Kings.
A lot of switching on that possession by the 36ers. Davis found himself with Humphries on him. Wasn't able to make the most of it, however. That's a foul on Dellavedova. Smacks Cotton across the face.
And I love the play. They'll love the play because they know that they're going to do whatever they can to keep the ball out of his hands. So they set up a backdoor option from the wing. Unfortunately, it was an inadvertent raising of the hand by Matthew Dellavedova. Catches him in the head, and Bryce, as you can imagine, not all that coming. See how they clear that whole side out. Look how tight the defense is on the Sydney Kings. Great first up action to try and loosen things up for Bryce Cotton, who's had a tough time against the Sydney Kings.
I know the boys spoke about this a bit in the pre-game. Are you surprised to see Dellavedova go to Cotton first, or was this as you expected?
I thought Brian Goorjian would go with length, and by length I mean Jalen Galloway specifically, but I do like this matchup. Let Delly be physical with him early, see if he can wear Cotton down.
Yeah, no surprises for me with that one. The man's guarded one of the greatest, all-time greatest offensive players in Steph Curry in an NBA Finals.
Truth.
Humphries with his back to the basket. Shot clock's going to beat Adelaide. That's less than ideal first up for the visitors.
Well, that's one where Humphries just has to settle himself down, understand the shot clock situation, and attack Suarez.
Sydney Kings hosting game 1. Next Friday, Adelaide will get their opportunity on their home floor. And then a quick turnaround to Sunday next week for game 3. Back here at Kudos Bank Arena. Offensive foul on Xavier Cooks.
Well, that's an interesting call, Jack. I think Cooks leans in and puts his shoulder into Cheatham's chin. High contact there, Drewy.
Yeah, look at it. I think he sold it well. It's the elbow coming up that hits him on the chin. I think it's a good call.
Wow, Vasiljevic, a 2-time championship winner with the Sydney Kings. His first look is short. Kendrick Davis with a statement early.
He's so quick in tight spaces. Excellent dribble velocity and really tricky around the rim. The Sixers need a bucket.
Had a meaningful offensive possession so far, Adelaide. We've been playing a couple of minutes.
We've had a couple of good shots. That's not a bad shot for Flynn Karen. Well, that's a nice play. Oh, my, what a catch. Davis with the super pass. And Galloway, outstanding timing, and puts it in. That's a tough pass when you're passing it from beyond the center line. Right on point.
What about the athleticism from Jalen Galloway to go and get it too, Derek?
Turnover, Kendrick Davis. Wow. He comes up with the steal, but first we'll look at the Amy replay. Davis eyes up, sees Galloway, and look at the outstanding adjustment Galloway makes in midair. He caught it behind the backboard. High level of difficulty finished by the supreme athlete, Jalen Galloway.
Here's Brian Goorjian. We heard from him pre-game, a 6-time NBL championship winner as a coach. His first was 1992. His last was 2008-9. And in 2026, he's here again. And so far, turnovers and inefficiency hurting Adelaide.
Right now, it's advantage Sydney Kings, very early days, but they are pushing the Adelaide 36ers out of their sets.
Dellavedova still hunting that NBL championship. And throws a bullet through the arms of Xavier Cooks.
And Jack, a little adjustment by the Sydney Kings. They have Davis starting this game on the offensive end, off of the basketball. And they've let Cooks and Dellavedova ignite the offense.
What's the thinking there?
Well, I think they just want to use Kendrick's speed away from the basketball. They had great success in that Perth series by bringing him off of screens without the basketball as Vasiljevic gets his body going.
Leaves another one short, gets after it and gives the 36ers a secondary look at things. It's clunky early, but that'll work for Humphries.
Clunky is correct. And they finally get a bucket, Drew.
And when you're watching it, just watch what Matthew Dellavedova is doing on Bryce Cotton. It is no help, no matter where he is on the floor. And the ease at which the Sydney Kings are finding opportunities at the scoring end. They've had some much easier looks at the bucket than the Adelaide 36ers. But look at the top of your screen. Look at Delly, just relentless, and he's getting help. Outstanding defense on Bryce.
Cheatham tees off for 3. Davis has Cooks. He's fouled on the floor. And to that point, Drewy, so Matthew Dellavedova scores the last basket. How important is that he makes Bryce Cotton defend and wears him out at that end of the floor?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's all part of the plan. And as Delly gets a seat, Malowatch comes in, and he is got a little bit more size, but just as much athleticism. But that last play, it wasn't just about what Delhi was doing. You saw when they come off the stagger screen, he fights over the top, but the next guy's there to help him out.
Off the inbound, Davis. Off the back of the iron. Runner up in the MVP this season, Kendrick Davis, for the second year in a row because he's been chasing this man.
And Galloway took a shot as the Sixers were bringing the ball up the floor, but poor defense there by the Sydney Kings, not helping on Cotton's drive.
Well, you know who the most upset person on that play was, outside of Brian George, is Matthew Dellavedova.
Yeah.
He's come out, he's put the clamps on, he's set the tone, and straight away, Bryce gets a bucket, and we know if he sees a few go in, if he gets the scoreboard ticking over, that's an easy one for him. And Matthew Dellavedova knows that it's going to be even tougher when he gets on, if he sees a few go in.
Free throws to come here for the Kings. Let's get over to Joe Healy.
Yeah, maybe just settling some early nerves for Adelaide. We've talked a lot about the fact that Bryce Cotton has 3 championships to his name. DJ Vasiljevic is going for his 3rd championship. But for a number of these guys, this is their first championship series. So it's about controlling their emotions and staying level-headed. Silent Cheatham spoke before the game. He said it's going to come down to composure and execution and keeping an even keel regardless of whether they're up or down.
Well, both coaches going to their benches early, and I think the nerves and the emotions are a part of it. Get the starters going into the game, give them a quick breather, and get your subs into it and let them feel the pace and the energy of the championship series.
Kosovic was one of the stories of Adelaide's playoff series against Southeast Melbourne. Averaging double-doubles. His first look no good. Kawatnoy steps out. Malawatch on the O-glass. Cotton explores up the other end. 4-point lead, another turnover for Adelaide. There's some sweat on the floor. It is hot inside this place.
They had a wide open layup, and the official calls a stop. Now, it's within his rights because it's the official's judgment. Are the players in danger? Now, I would think that those floor wipers would have got out of the way. Have a look. Suarez.
Well, Andrew, based on where the wet spot was and where the Kings were going to attack, I don't think the wet spot would have come into play.
No, but it's the fact that there was 2 bodies out on the floor in the keyway, but they would have got off in time. I don't think it was the actual wet spot that was the concern.
Oh, great offense from the Sydney Kings. Davis split the gap, and Malawatch. We talk about success stories of the playoff series. McQuatch Malawatch had a career-high 23 points in Game 2 against the Perth Wildcats. And Derek, this time of year can be the making of young players in this league. And McQuatch Malawatch certainly put his best foot forward.
Well, in that Game 3, keep in mind, that was a really tight game until that 4th quarter when the Kings pulled away, and it was Malawatch knocking down a 3. Malawatch getting out on the break, steals, dunks, that really extended that lead and allowed the Kings to get just enough of a buffer and win that ball game. But he's been a very good basketball player for a few years. It's only now that Brian Goorjian has given him a legitimate opportunity to show his value.
Well, he's only getting that sort of time because of Bull Quall's injury. So he gets on, has some more playing time, and he's made the most of it.
36ers to score early stages. Big for Isaac White, who averaged just 2 points a game in the series against the Phoenix. That'll get him going.
Well, he did the same thing the other night in Game 3. Hit his first 3-ball in transition as Kendrick Davis misses a bunny, but Suarez on the O-glass. The low-maintenance big man gets 2 points for the Kings.
Kenyon tucked away in the corner.
They'll live with that. That's a shot that the Sydney Kings are prepared to live with until such a time as he makes a few.
Torrey Craig unloads.
The defensive mistake there by Matt Kenyon. He was chasing the basketball, chased it too deep into the paint, and his man, Torrey Craig, trailed, had space. He was lonely, Drew, but he made himself happy by knocking down that 3-ball.
Well, he's been really good against the Adelaide 36ers. Torrey Craig, he averaged more against the Sixers than anyone else. Yeah. Last time they played, he had a 6 made threes, a season-high 6 made three in the game against the Adelaide 36ers, and he gets a wide-open look.
15-7, Tangerine timeout. Let's take a listen to Mike Wells, the coach of the Adelaide 36ers.
Yep. Hey, so there's a couple things here. When we're coming into the front court, we're not organized. All right, the 5's down or the 5's up. You can get the ball. That little face guard's bullshit, right? We're bringing the ball up, and you're in hook. And let's get into the second side.
And I agree right there. You saw one of his last comments being, let's get it to the second side. The Sixers have been impatient on the offensive end, and they've also committed 3 turnovers in just 6 minutes of action.
It's only early, Derek. Still 4:16 remaining in the first quarter, but feels like Sydney can sense an opportunity here.
Well, right now they have this erratic, frenetic type of basketball game, and that severely favors the Sydney Kings. That's exactly how they want it. They do not want this guy, Bryce Cotton, to be able to come down and set up and play basketball.
Kosovic is fouled, and it drops.
Massive play.
He's gone to another level. And what's really helped his confidence is the work from the three-point line. Early on, when he was in the league, we always knew that the form looked okay, but he was 1 of 20 in his first 23-point field goal makes. Since then, he's 9 of 13. And when he sees those perimeter shots go down, the confidence in all parts of his game just has grown and grown.
An extra to come for Adelaide. Joe, you're listening to Brian Goorjian.
Well, as the Kings camp are pretty relaxed right now, Gorge just said it's all about defense and rebounds. He said everybody behind the line of the ball, no second shots for Adelaide. The Kings gave up 18 and 20 O-boards in that semi-final series against Perth. They just want to reduce that number here tonight.
And right there, we had a tip-in as that ball was in the cylinder, and when the Kings defender tried to swat it away, it actually went in, which means that should be 2 points. And the referees have talked it over, and they're about to award that extra point.
Well, they're going to review it. That's what they're doing.
I think they're just reviewing to see if it was actually touched.
Yeah, the replay center is going to break it down. See, the ball's already in the bucket, so that'll only be the 1 point.
Well spotted.
So 15-10. The score on the screen is correct. The teams met 4 times during the season. Adelaide went down in 3 of those. Torrey Craig's in one of these moods again.
Well, he's finding it so easy to score since he's returned to the league, and I guess that's to be expected.
And I also think with Torrey Craig, the word is that there are a number of NBA teams that are making finals runs as Rakotovic knocks down another 3. So a few NBA teams looking at Torrey Craig, so he'd be keen to show what he can do and say that he's healthy and in form. And so far, we've seen strong evidence that he is at that level.
He's been the one in the first half of games against Perth that set the tone for them. Isaac White doing his bit off the bench.
Nice pull-up jumper there by Isaac White. But right now, Mike Wells has to find a suitable matchup for Torrey Craig. I think he's just a little bit too long for Flynn Cameron, Drew. Well, right now, they got matchup problems all over the floor. They're 8 of 12 from the field.
They are getting whatever they want offensively. Rakotovic tries his luck for a second time. One's deep. Flynn Cameron another. In pursuit of his first NBL championship. He's fallen short a couple of times with Melbourne. Rakotovic rolls and lays it up.
Nice action off the on-ball, and good backcourt pressure D by the Adelaide 36ers.
Kept it manageable, Adelaide. It's within 4. Malawach adds 2 more.
Tough shot. Out of no structure by the Sydney Kings, and Malawach, just a guy playing with a lot of confidence.
4 points early. Torrey Craig, the leading scorer for the Kings. He's got 7. Rakotovic has 8. He wants to get busy on Xavier Cooks.
Speaking of getting busy.
Davis has it on a string. He's fouled.
Yeah, this is an interesting... If your defense is not holding, then I like the look of what we saw a little bit in that series against Phoenix where Adelaide went big. Now, you're going big against the Sydney Kings is going to present some matchup problems, but you've got them anyway, so maybe throw it down the other end and see if you can get an advantage and throw it in the box. We've already seen Vukovic down low. So it's something that you might want to consider if you're not getting the stops.
Something else you might want to consider is the NBL app. You can scan the QR code now. If you're new to the league, it's got every single slither of information, every video, every podcast, all the opinion pieces, it's all there. You'll see Derek about 7 or 8 times a week on the NBL app doing different things.
Trying to get it up to 9 or 10, Jack.
All about that bread. 25-17. And a handy contribution from Isaac White off the bench. Bryce Cotton. Only the 1 field goal attempt so far. Look at the D from Dellavedova, making life extremely difficult for the benchmark. It's a different matchup that Cotton's got coming at him in this series.
Just everything really easy for the Sydney Kings because 1, they're knocking down the shots, but 2, the ease at which they're able to distribute the ball.
10 of 14 now for Sydney.
They're hounding Bryce Cotton. That's 3 shots to the face he's taken already, including 2 on this possession.
Kosovic no good from long range. 2 of 8 Adelaide. Shooting stats starting to get away from them. Oh my. When you're hot, you're hot.
He's on an absolute heater at the moment. 4 of 4 from the field. Torrey Craig putting on a show. Dellavedova fouls Cotton on the other end, but look at this. Lead pass ahead from Dellavedova. He sees he's got the smaller Cotton. Great dribble, he just throws it up at the rim, Jack.
That's just good fortune. And you're right, it's amazing when you're 3 of 3 before that, when you're in form. Those seem to drop more than when you're struggling. But as Matthew Dellavedova picks up his 2nd personal foul. Now they go with
Sean Bruce back out there for the Sydney Kings. Didn't play in the playoff series against Perth due to personal reasons.
This is the 3rd look that Bryce Cotton's had to see with Galloway.
Woo!
Jenkins.
Much needed.
With a 3. That'll do his confidence wonders. Virtually unsighted in game 3 against the Phoenix.
Well, he played 1:14 in that game.
Needless to say, in game 1, with all of the chips pushed in on the table, there is a lot of contact out there.
Yeah, it is. And Bryce Cotton goes straight up to the official and said, okay, if you're going to call that, how's about you have a look what I'm dealing with down the other end, off the ball.
And Andrew, we talked before the game about Brian Goorjian's defenses and how we had to deal with them and decode them for years as Davis gets the first one to drop. And right now, Bryce Cotton is seeing the blueprint. Quickness and strength early on, and then Brian Goorjian brings in athleticism and length in Jalen Galloway.
He's had Delly, he's had Malawatch, and now he's got Galloway. So each of them present different problems. So as you go through and you think, okay, I see what Delly's doing to me, here's the penalty, bang, he's got a new guy on him, and now he's got size, length, and for the 4th matchup now, they go with Torrey Craig on him.
He's made a habit of scoring at the buzzer to finish a quarter, Cotton. He's fixed to do it again. Woo!
So quick. Put a series of moves on Torrey Craig, who was doing an outstanding job in defending him in that ISO situation. And Cotton, when he got it on his left hand, Andrew, it was a blur to the paint.
But again, what's this, Derek? Now, it's the change of direction. That right there, so he's going right. There's different ways to play it, and who's to question Brian Goorjian, and maybe that wasn't the intent. He's just brilliant offense. But don't let him come back. Keep him going one way. Now,
Keep him going right.
Yeah, just don't let him make that crossover. Easier said than done. Yep. But at this level, Torrey Craig, or any of the guys out there should be able to do that. He still might get beat, by the way.
Davis from halfway, it looks close. Sydney have their nose in front early. The first round is done. It's the Kings 31 who lead the 36ers 23. Game 1 of the championship series in the Hungry Jacks NBL.
You're watching the Hungry Jacks NBL Championship Series at Game 1 here at Kudos Bank Arena. It is tense out there, emotions are high, but it was the Sydney Kings who settled things and got the jump early. They lead 31-23 after one. Listening to Brian Gorgon in the break then, he wants them to keep up with their defense and keep the pressure on and maintain their composure out there.
An outstanding first quarter by the Sydney Kings, and Andrew, they got 20 points in the paint, which supports the comment you made earlier about things being too easy.
This offense to start the quarter, Cheatham thought he was fouled, and then Suarez steps out of play. It has to be an advantage, this venue in game number 1. Sydney 13-4 this season inside Kudos Bank Arena.
And especially if you allow them to play at this pace, Andrew, I just don't think Adelaide can keep up. They've got to slow this game down.
And that last play was an example. Cheatham there just had the size. He rushed it. They're getting rushed into their shots.
Vasiljevic left alone. Doesn't have the same impact from game 3 so far. 0 of 3. Suarez swings to Cooks down the middle. Fouled with one to come.
Outstanding push of the basketball up the floor. The lead pass to Galloway was outstanding. He got in the paint, kick, and then Zayd Cooks in that middle cylinder is one of the best in the league at finishing.
The pace of this game, Derek touched on it already. It has to be a huge concern for Adelaide right now.
Well, it does, and the fact the efficiency. They had 31 points in that first quarter. If you look up that and extrapolate that over the whole game, you think you're going to win shooting 124 or whatever, you're kidding yourself. So they got to do something about slowing down the Sydney Kings. That's another really gruff shot by Bryce. Now, he's 2 of 4 in the first quarter. I think with Suarez, he's had an up-and-down season from his percentages. But to me, he's a switch guy on balls. He's picking and popping a significant portion, and you can see if he's got his feet set and he's that wide open, he's going to knock him down.
They finished the end of the regular season second in the competition for three-point shooting percentages, Sydney. It's working in their favour. The ball swings.
the second and third efforts. Head fakes. You saw Vasilievich there, a couple of fakes, and he thinks he's open. But that time, there's a third guy running at him. They're scrambling to protect the three-point line. And there's a guy that's, well, he's the defending champion for another week or so.
Yeah. It is Justin Tatum's mantle. Coach of the year last year, or the championship winning coach, I should say, with the Illawarra Hawks. He's watching on tonight. Suarez will shoot free throws. Attempts number 10 and 11 coming up. So from a shooting percentage alone, Derek, they're 13 of 18 from the field, 2 of 6 from long range. They're on the free throw line again here, the Sydney Kings. And they've got 7 assists on 13 makes. There's a lot going right for this team right now.
And they're dominating the rebound count, and just the overall tenor of play is exactly how Brian Goorjian would want it. The pace is up. Kendrick Davis is playing a nice role. He's not having to do too much. And right now, they've just got the Adelaide 36ers trying to find space on the offensive end, and the Sixers just unable to do so, Drew.
Well, they just got to weather this storm. The Kings are 13 of 18 from the field. Now, they're not going to shoot that for the entire game. Somehow or other, they've got to keep the scoreboard ticking over, because right now, we're going through a really critical phase that potentially could determine the game.
They have not scored in the quarter so far, and everything is hard work. Cooks with the block, then he's fouled. They are squeezing the life out of Adelaide in this first half.
Outstanding call there from Vaughn Mayberry. Cooks was grabbed on his arm after he blocked that shot. And the problem for Adelaide right now is they are not one of the best defensive teams in the competition, so they don't win basketball games by shutting opponents down. Effectively, Andrew, they just outscore you.
Yeah, well, the defense of Sydney Kings has been exceptional. And on the flip side of that, the defense of the Adelaide 36 has been, well, at this level in a championship series so far, it's been poor.
Biggest lead of the game is 17. Adelaide still scoreless in the second quarter.
And that's
finally they score through Vasilievich.
Much needed, but this looks like there's a debate about, they've only played 2 games in 27, 28 days, whatever it may be. Is that an advantage or disadvantage? This is a caged tiger that's been let out of the cage and is happy to be out and is fresh and ready to go.
They look very sharp, you're right, Andrew. But right now, Mike Wells is going to come back with 2 more perimeter players, and I don't agree with this. I think you got to go with the 2 bigs now. You got to zag against these Kings. It may sound counterintuitive, but right now you're down 15. You got to roll the dice.
Really interesting timeout here from Brian Goorjian. Everything going in favour of the Sydney Kings. He wants to have a chat about things. They lead by 15.
I think this one's more about just getting some rest. Some rest. He sees what they're doing on the defensive end. They're flying all over the court and making it tough, and he wants to keep that intensity, so he just gives them a quick spell.
15-point advantage to the Sydney Kings, and the future of Australian basketball and New Zealand basketball have enjoyed some of the best experiences all season long with thanks to the Bunnings Backing Ballers program. Look at the young boys and girls who've had the chance before games and after games throughout the NBL season to put their feet on the timber, get shots up, get autographs, and get up and close and personal to the players. Life-changing.
It's aspirational stuff. Great job by Bunnings to allow this type of accessibility to the youth right across Australia, that courtside access. Drewy, do they do that for adults?
Yeah, we need to, I'll get out there and mix it up. It's great fun. And good on the players, too, for getting out there and embracing it. Sometimes you have these promotions, and Derek, we've done a bazillion of them in the past, but they really do engage. We see Paul Smith. Gee, he was nervous before. I had a quick chat to him before the start of the game. I've never seen the man.
Yeah.
He's usually full of life and bouncing around, and he was quiet, and I said, what's up? He was nervous alongside him. The starting centre in arguably the greatest team that's ever played a game of basketball in Luke Longley.
An influential figure with this Sydney Kings outfit as well. There's a malfunction at the junction out of the timeout by Sydney, a rare one. Such a careful team with the basketball across the season, the Sydney Kings. They only turn it over 9 times a game.
Yeah, well, their 2 primary ball handlers are so good with it. And I mean, Kendrick Davis and Matthew Dellavedova. And then kind of their third hub in terms of initiating offense, Xavier Cooks, he's very secure. And he's also very secure with his shooting night. He's 3 of 3. As Jenkins lets the 4 and a 3 go, no good.
Well, we were talking about going big. The Adelaide 36ers. And I think Mike Wells is trying to find a formula on the defensive end. So he's gone really small. 4 guards and Zion Cheatham. But to me, it's worth a look, but they're not having success small ball so far. And that's why, and I can understand, if you put those bigs out there with the way the Sydney Kings are playing, and this guy here knocking down threes, it's going to be tough. But right now, if you can't defend, find a way to score.
Joe, what did Mike Wells have to say in that timeout?
Well, exactly that. He said, guys, we're going small now. He needs everybody on the boards. Offensively, he wants them keeping up the pace out there. They can't get stagnant, guys.
I don't want to be overly critical as Cotton gets to the rim and Galloway just makes a great defensive play. But, Drew, this small ball lineup would have come after I tested the Twin Towers lineup.
Correct. Which it's not throwing something random out there. They've had looks at that big lineup. And again, I can understand Mike Wells thinking, because he's thinking, we can't get a stop, we can't get a stop. But sometimes your offense is your best defense.
Cotton tracks a double team again. Every time he takes possession, he's swarmed. That is as tough as it gets from Isaac White. 8 points in the first half of game 1. The trail by a big number to start with. They've given the Kings an almighty head start.
John Jenkins lucky there. And I believe he'll go to the line to shoot 2. Didn't really have an effective move sorted to put against the pursuing Quatnoy. But enough contact was made that Jenkins will go to the line to shoot 2.
Joe touched on the experience earlier of the Sydney Kings. They've still got 5 players, Derek, remaining from that unbelievable 2022-23 championship series here. Game 5 against the New Zealand Breakers. Xavier Cooks, Sean Bruce, Kawhi, Jalen Galloway, and Tim Suarez. It hasn't been a factor in the first half that the Kings have been here before and seen it all before.
And you add Matthew Dellavedova to that equation, and it really enhances what you just mentioned. And, you know, I'm a big fan of continuity. And it's moments like this where continuity is so significant.
Continuity when you've had success is great. Continuity when things aren't going all that well.
Why couldn't you just let me have a moment?
I'm just saying. And the other addition, of course, is Torrey Gray. Who saw that coming? That is just an 8-year NBA veteran stepping in.
Roy crashes the glass.
Now, admittedly, this small ball lineup has reduced the deficit, Andrew, for now.
Here's where it gets tricky for Adelaide. Suarez, they're now +8 in rebounds. Great find from Davis.
That's the penalty you pay.
Yep.
When you go small, Suarez just size prevailing.
18 rebounds to 10. It's a factor in the first half. Desperation from Kawhi. Suarez did well to catch, retrieve, and score. Mike Wells has seen more than enough.
What were you saying about that small ball lineup? Well, this is just great hands by Tim Suarez. They get out and run, and the pass, well, in some respects was a poor one, but Suarez was able to reel it in and get an easy 2.
47-30, Tangerine timeout, game 1 of the championship series. Derek, it's been such a big talking point coming in is how Sydney would guard Bryce Cotton. Now, there's some different looks, but just tell us what you're seeing here.
Well, right there, Matthew Dellavedova, his main intent is just to be physical. And although the slap across Cotton's face was incidental, you see a few possessions later, it's the same thing, just pounding. As Drew mentioned, he did this to Steph Curry in an NBA Finals, and he's applying it right here. And I think that just takes a little bit of the sting out of Cotton's pop, maybe start to eat away at his legs. And you look at the shot chart, Bryce is 2 of 7 early and hasn't been able to knock down a 3-ball, hasn't had a lot of space.
And the other concerning thing, he plays 38, sometimes 40 minutes a game. To be dealing with this type of pressure and the fresh legs, they're only, right now, they're only 2 or 3 minutes they're on him before he sees a new body coming at him. And it's not just the individual defense, it's the collective defense.
Well, you two are well positioned to talk about this. You're two of the greatest scorers the league's ever seen. What does Bryce have to do to find his way through this?
Well, he needs to create some easier opportunity for his teammates. Now, he was trying to do that early, but they resulted in turnovers. Okay, but Adelaide also, as a collective, they need to get the ball moving, put this ball through sets of hands, and then that will free Bryce up.
Torrey Craig with the assignment at the moment.
Oh, look at that. Just smothering him. Smother.
See, Andrew, I think that's too terminal. Move the ball side to side. They tried a same side hit with Bryce, and we've seen Adelaide be really good on the offensive end where they're fluid, the ball gets through hands.
And you got to run him off screens, and not just one screen. Run him off screens, do more work without the ball. You saw what's happened in that possession. With the ball, run him off screens, off the ball, bit of misdirections, and when you get down to that last 6-8 seconds, then you throw the ball to him and let him do his thing there, and hopefully not have the defense in preferred positions.
Lukosevic was out of control. 3-ball won't count.
How about it? What, 31, offense?
Just good help weak side defense. They double team, so they're in scrambling. Davis is there for a long time, and that's going to be 3 fouls now for Lukosevic. So that is a big play phase in the context of this one.
A good job there by Kendrick Davis. Because he's so brilliant on the offensive end and so dynamic, he often doesn't get credit for the little things in the basketball game that he does, and right there was a good indication of one of them.
Averaged 15 and 10, Nick Lukosevic in the series against Southeast Melbourne. He'll have to sit for an extended period as Sydney enjoy a 17-point advantage as we head towards halftime.
Torrey Craig doesn't like it. That's going to be his second personal foul. There's a little bit. Now Bryce is smart. He felt the contact.
Yeah.
He made sure that the official knew that there was some contact there.
And I mean, really, it's just more physicality on Bryce Cotton. And even though Torrey Craig may disagree with the call, the net result is positive for the Sydney Kings.
So warnings for both teams now, as you'd expect. High emotion. So much on the line. The intensity inside this building, palpable. Vasiljevic.
Needed that one.
You see what they're doing. They're hard showing and blitzing Bryce on any on-ball screen, so you have a numerical advantage off the ball. So he can be a great decoy, get it out of his hands. But it doesn't matter what you do offensively. If they can't find a way to stop the points in the paint, it's going to be a long night.
Well, that was a very well-designed play.
Kendrick Davis, the first player into double figures. He's got 11. 3 minutes and 15 seconds before halftime. Cotton a long way from the basket. Turnover coming. It had neon lights flashing all over it. And Mellowat slams.
Outstanding pressure on Cotton. Kings put him in a vice double team.
Wide off the back of the iron. Rebound, Dellavedova. The pace of the Sydney Kings is destroying Adelaide. Suarez, monsters on the offensive glass.
Too much size. We look at the Amy replay. Malawatch goes up.
Well, that was the cherry on top. It was the defense first up, smothering on Bryce. And what they do when they double team, is they take away that first pass. Their rotations to take away the first pass is as good as you want to see. So you've got to almost think of the hockey assist. So you're there, okay, let's try and then to the next one, because they have the advantage. When you double team, you've got the numerical advantage away from the ball.
Championship winner already with the Sydney Kings in 2023. Back with Sydney for this season after a couple of years in Asia. Has been a solid contributor all season long. Average 11.5 points, 5.5 rebounds. He's a plus 250 for the season. Tim Suarez. He's exactly the man for this team.
And he knows how to conduct his business in big games. This is not unfamiliar territory to him.
Turnover, another turnover. That's 7 now for the Adelaide 36ers. 6 to the Sydney Kings.
And it's very rare we say this, but Bryce Cotton looks rattled right now.
The Kings have just done a great job of getting up and in. And they did it from the first play phase as Davis lets a 3 fly, but that's an offensive foul.
The other thing is, too, is they've gone with his small ball. And, well, they had Humphries back in there now. But the rebound count is 20-11.
Felix Petencoats will be back at halftime. There's going to be a lot to talk about from this first half. Chance for Adelaide to make some inroads, though. They trail a big number at the moment. There's nothing happening for them offensively here. Cheatham's tipping doesn't work. Still hustles after him and scores.
Great effort there by Cheatham. But boy, have Sydney really swallowed up Adelaide's offensive productivity as Davis gets to work.
He's always on the move. It's hard to think of an easy Adelaide bucket in this first half.
This defense is something special. It's not easy to do what the Sydney Kings are doing right now. There's a breakdown. And that's the thing, when you're so Bryce conscious, sometimes you just got to use Bryce as a decoy and let others get going, and that ultimately will help Bryce out.
Still just 5 points in the first half. The 6-time MVP, that's a bullet from Dellavedova. Suarez knocks down another 3. He's got 15 first half points.
He's getting great looks on those kick-out threes. He's knocked a couple of down, and just a great contribution. He's been very good on the defensive end as well.
Well, to play this type of defense, and the Adelaide 36ers to only have 4 free throws. They're a perfect 4 of 4. It could not have worked out any better for the Sydney Kings.
They're unstoppable.
Suarez follows up that Davis miss, and his perfection continues, Drew.
He had his hands full with Joe Lawala-Chul in the playoff series as Kendrick Davis has whistled for his first.
The Kings are hungry.
It is. They can sense that this game can be put away. Now, 20-point lead, 22-point lead at halftime is tough in any circumstances, but in a grand final series, it's a long way back.
13 seconds before the half. Goodrick and Bruce, Galloway out there as well to play some D. And stop one last thrust from the 36ers. They get it out of the hands of Cotton. Cameron, nice pass for Kenyon. And they'll take that heading into halftime, the Adelaide 36ers. But they are a long way back. A 20-point Kings lead at halftime.
Right from the tip, the Sydney Kings showed their intent. Great defensive performance, holding the Adelaide 36ers to 37.5% from the field and really making life difficult for Bryce Cotton, forcing him into 4 turnovers.
17 first half points from Tim Suarez. He's with Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Timmy, Gorge has been preaching defense and rebounding. You kept them under 40. How pleased are you with the execution out there?
I think all our guys are playing super hard right now. It's a lot to ask for them. We've been waiting for a long time, so it's been good.
What are you seeing from their defense? Because you're having your way with it out there at the moment.
Well, they're just switching up their lineups. We're just all being aggressive. It's opening up for me. We just all got to stay aggressive.
Keep it going in the second.
Thank you.
Tim Suarez, their game one of the NBL Championship Series. It's the Kings leading the way at the half. Felix, Pete and Leonard will break it down after this. Still a big 20 minutes to come.
And excelled at such national competitions as Light the Way, Australian Dance Festival, Get the Beat, and Showcase Dance Championships. Today, their Diamonds Dance team are excited to bring their energy and love to such an electric sporting atmosphere. Show them some love, Sydney!
Halftime here at Kudos Bank Arena, and the Sydney Kings and that man, Kendrick Davis, are out on a mission, stamping their authority on game one, 20 points. But the story of the half so far, Bryce Cotton, six-time MVP. The engine room of the Adelaide 36 is held to only 5 points, and the Kings a 20-point lead at the half. Peter Hawley, Leonard Copeland, what do you see?
Well, I'm not surprised. We spoke about this. We knew they'd get after Bryce Cotton defensively. I'll break it down with a couple of clips in a second, but also, Cope, if Adelaide were going to win a game like this, we said it was going to have to be Zylan Cheatham or Flynn Cameron. They are 1 of 7 combined. It's not going to get it done against the depth and the power that the Sydney Kings have.
Absolutely. Sydney have way too many defenders. Mello Watch has been great. Galloway's been great. Dellavedova's been great. Torrey Craig has been great. Brian George has been great. Everybody's playing fantastic basketball. And when Bryce Cotton has to get around this screen and get off this guy, it's going to be hard for him.
And Kendrick Davis is doing more than just scoring. He's distributing the ball, and the way he's getting Tim Suarez involved, who is a real X-factor right now. He's a better player than saying he's just a runabout X factor, but as you look at the Hungry Jacks highlights, he's a real difference maker.
I mean, you think about the foul trouble the Adelaide 36ers are in, but when you've got a guy like Kendrick Davis, you kind of get forgotten about on that end because everyone's worried about Davis, they're worried about Torrey Craig, and he's just getting all the pick and pop threes. Tim Suarez is having himself a ball game right now, and to be honest, he might not do this the rest of the series because he won't have to. But one game you knew he was going to explode a little bit.
Absolutely, and we spoke about this earlier. Yes, Bryce Cotton, yes, Kendrick Davis, but it's a support cast that's going to get this game and get this win. And Suarez, 6 for 6, like you said, getting guys off the glass, 7 rebounds. He's having a magnificent game.
You see the Blackmores shot chart right there, the player profile, 17 points. He's been terrific. And again, when you've got Kendrick Davis as the point guard, it feels fun.
Certainly does. Now, the story of the half so far, we mentioned Bryce Cotton, held to 5 points, and it's not just like he's not scoring. He is out of character. He's turning the ball over. He is under intense pressure.
And I've got a couple of clips to show you. This is the very first clip of the game, and this is what Dellavedova, he would have asked to be in the starting lineup, but just watch how physical he is with Bryce Cotton off the ball. They are essentially going to play 4-on-4. They want somebody else to beat them. Delhi does not care as long as Bryce Cotton gets the ball so late in the shot clock they double team. They don't care who beats them or takes a shot as long as it's not Bryce Cotton. And if it's not just him, it's Torrey Craig, it's Makoch Malawach. They will play 4-on-4. They will do whatever it takes as long as they shadow keep the ball out of his hand.
And I'm surprised that you didn't mention the pop upside the head. Dolly knows what he's doing. He wants you to know it's going to be very physical. Wherever you go, I'm going to be there in your face.
And even that last clip right there, they give Bryce Cotton the sense that he finally has a one-on-one. He finally has an island, which we know when you get stuck on Bryce Island one-on-one. He got Torrey Craig with the and one. And right at the last second as he's about to go, Jalen Galloway sprints up and he has to second guess that. It is going to be a nightmare for Bryce Cotton to have his usual impact. Can he do it? Yes, but he needs other guys to score to take the pressure off him.
Luke Longley walked past. He's sitting courtside here tonight with the Sydney Kings. Now, he said it feels like they've got 6 players out there, and that's what it feels like. Because Adelaide 36 is just getting swarmed possession after possession.
And they're going to be like that. That's the Sydney Kings. This is why we said it was going to be tough for the 36ers. It's doable, but you need the Zylan Cheathams and Flynn Cameron, those other 2 guys in the starting lineup, to be able to lift. And I know you're going home to Adelaide next week, but you want to go home with a little bit of momentum even if you lose.
And this game ain't over. We've seen throughout this playoff, Adelaide has seen an 18-point lead erased and losing the game. We got plenty more to play out, but game 2, that's definitely taking place, 7:30 p.m. on Friday in Adelaide, the most hostile of venues.
Cannot wait for that. That crowd will be up and about, but they've got to give them something to cheer for. It starts now.
Absolutely, but look, Adelaide know what they're doing. They know they're going to come in here and get a big win. They're just taking it easy, resting those legs. They'll be ready to go game 2.
Well, Mike Wells has his work cut out for him, trying to work their way back into this game. What can Bryce Cotton do after being held to 5 points in the first half? What does the GOAT have in store for the second? We'll see you soon.
Here we are, the AIM safe driver seats. How good are these seats here? How good are our Sydney Kings? Absolutely locking it down defensively in the first half. Let's meet a lucky fan. What's your name?
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
I said, what's your name?
Oh, my name is Casey Park.
Lovely to meet you, Chan. I'm glad you're loving it. And your name? Portia. Mate, he's your true basketball expert of the duo here. Who's your favourite Sydney King?
Kendrick.
How do you think Kendrick's going today?
I think he's always amazing. He's like a hero. He always finds big opportunities.
You got it there. He's always amazing. Hero of the Kings, that's it. Tell me about these seats. What do you think about the Amy safe driver seat?
So good. Amazing. Comfortable. And I want to buy it.
So good, amazing, comfortable. Portia, you recline, and girls, lucky you're with Amy. Kings fans, here's your chance to win a match ball from the Championship Grand Final Series. It is simple. Scan the QR code and vote for your favourite moment of the season. There's 5 great moments from an amazing season, and we want your vote. Oh, yes, yes, yes. You know what time it is? It's time for us to bring the energy up and get ready for that second half. I got the high squad with me right now. We're taking it back right now. Let's go. Let me see your every time one time.
A game for Jen.
Welcome back to the Hungry Jacks NBL. It is the Championship Series, Game 1 here at Kudos Bank Arena. It's the Sydney Kings leading the Adelaide 36ers by 20 points at the half. Tim Suarez, Kendrick Davis and Torrey Craig going off for the home side by the Adelaide 36ers. They have a mountain to climb. Bryce's support crew need to get going. Guys, what will the message have been from Mike Wells at the half?
Well, I think Mike's trying to figure out a way to get his offense going. He's got problems at both ends of the floor, but I think that the biggest one is how do you try to free up Bryce Cotton? And I think the last play we saw was kind of the blueprint. They know they're blitzing, invite the blitz, but then know how you're going to pass out of it to create an easy bucket.
And there's no doubt also they've got to look at that two-man lineup with the bigs out there. But Bryce Cotton right now, tough first half as the Kings' defensive pressure really made life difficult. 2 of 7 from the field, but more importantly, he had those 4 turnovers. And naturally, if the Sixers are to have any success in this series, they need to get him going, but it's just not about Bryce.
Yeah, and if you look at the Sydney Kings, 22 of 34, that is exceptional shooting, and unlikely they're going to be on that path in the second half. But you know, I think you still got to figure out a way to take away those easy buckets, and sometimes it's as simple as sitting down, sliding your feet, and keeping people out of the paint. A lot of it's not dealing with on-balls or how you're dealing with stagger screens or zoom action and all the other stuff that you talk about. Sometimes it's just sit down and guard the ball.
Adelaide have won the second half, the last 10 games. They've been on the road when they've been down at half-time, so that's a positive stat for them.
Well, that's not. Suarez now 7 of 8 from the field, including 3 of 3 from deep. He's got 20 points. Wow, what an impact he's had to open this championship series.
Great play. Same set they used in Game 3, coming out of the halftime break against the Phoenix. Give DJ Vasiljevic a wide open look.
Swings to Galloway. Checks the feet, checks the ball, and makes it a 26-point lead.
Well, it's target practice out here, and the Kings have done such a terrific job of scoring at the basket. They had 36 points in the paint in the first half, and now they're starting to knock down some threes.
2 of 7 from the field, Cotton. And to get the ball out of his hands, Flynn Cameron has had a tough postseason so far. The NBL's most improved player has just struggled to get going at all. Galloway misses out there. The Sixers are just having enough trouble stringing together back-to-back baskets.
Well, right now, any bucket for the 36ers is going to be welcome. Oh, dear. The body language is not good for the Adelaide 36ers, and it's just getting the appearance that it's all becoming too hard for them.
All of the conversations at halftime, the mental reset has been blown to pieces in 2 minutes of supreme basketball from the Sydney Kings. Suarez wears his 3rd foul.
Just an outstanding defensive game plan by Brian Gordon as Dellavedova
will come out of the game quickly. Again, Brian Gorgon elected to get fresh bodies in early.
Well, that was an interesting one because I saw in the last possession when Dellavedova, he asked to come out of the game. So there may, let me get Joe down there because there may be something that he needs to get looked at.
So you can still save some points if you get them loud enough. Where are you, Sydney fans? This is the
Andrew, we spoke at halftime, and I think this is a good time for Mike Wells to get some burn into John Jenkins. Yeah, the game is out of reach almost here. Time is going to be a real factor soon. See if you can get some confidence into Jenkins.
Yeah, they are flawless. That time is now because I hate to say it, we're 30 points down, and it's almost time to let's have a look at some things that we want to consider for game 2.
Correct.
$70-40. Not in their wildest dreams, with all of their planning and preparation with the Sydney Kings, had imagined they would lead by this in the early stages of the second half in game 1 of the series.
And it's so reminiscent of the Brian Gorgon teams in the Southeast Melbourne Magic era, where you didn't know from game to game who was going to be the dominant player, although Kendrick Davis is the star of this team. But tonight it's been Suarez, it's been Galloway, and Davis has just been serviceable, playing his role, making winning basketball plays.
And to his credit, it's not like he's pushed the issue individually. He's prepared, things are going well, prepared to distribute the ball and get others involved.
Tanasi Kokonakis takes his seat near the Adelaide bench. I think he's got the meta glasses on for the second half. Drury, do you know what they are?
Yeah, he had them on the other night in Adelaide. He caught me unaware.
He just thought they were reading glasses.
For 3 more. Well, Galloway's reading that rim really well. And right now it says shoot as much as you can.
8 of 15 from the three-point line. 27 of 41 overall. In a playoff game, in any game, that is spectacular shooting.
It's another man that could see some more of the ball. 6 points for Isaac Humphrey is a miss from Galloway. That's about the only way that Adelaide are getting the ball back now off a Sydney miss.
Yeah, and that was luck.
That's right, it was a high percentage shot that he's going to make 99 times out of 100.
Shot clock at 6. Cotton with a hand in the face. That is tough.
It is, and that right there, they get to a situation where it's like a 1-4 flat, but they've gone through a bit of motion to get into that position. Still a very tough shot that he's forced to make. Have a look at the, sorry, the game in replay. See now they spread the floor, so he's got everything foul line and above. All the offense is below it, and he's just working his magic up the top. Now, if you've got to rely on those shots constantly, it's still going to be a long night. But that integrated with the other stuff, and it's just relentless. Torrey Craig comes in.
And Jack, one of the real kind of unmentioned benefits of this game thus far has been the freedom and the liberty that Xavier Cooks has been able to find out on the floor. 4-4 from the field, and he hasn't been pressed physically, done a good job on the defensive end, and he's just playing the style of basketball that Xavier is very successful at.
Goes 1 of 2 there from the free throw line, but it looks as though in the postseason he might have exercised a few of the free throw demons. Noted at 85% in the series against Perth from the line. It's not there for Cheatham. Smart by Isaac White. Kept it alive. Cheatham lays it up.
They've absolutely nailed their scout. The players they want shooting from the perimeter are shooting from the perimeter. And the players they need to lock down are getting locked down.
But that's what makes it so hard. You start to carve away at the lead slightly, and then Davis says, okay, I'm just going to go get me one.
Play by Cheatham. Point should count, and they do.
Brian Gordon's seen enough. It's amazing he's got a commanding lead, and I'm watching his body language, and if you just walk in the gym and the scoreboard had gone blank, you'd think that this is a 4-point ball game.
He knows there's a chance here for Sydney to not only win the game, but to inflict some serious mental damage on the Adelaide 36ers. 76-49, let's listen to the 6-time championship winning coach.
Fighting the picks, keeping him what? The key thing, second shots. We haven't been doing that. The hustle plays, all right? The hustle plays. Everybody on the glass. Really good minutes here. Hands in.
High standards from Brian Gordon, 76-49. They lead out of the Tangerine timeout.
Well, he's got enough experience to understand that while winning game one gives you a significant advantage, that does not win you the series. And you need to inflict, Jack, as you mentioned, as much psychological harm on your opponent so they don't go back into Adelaide feeling there's any chance of winning that basketball game, because Brian Gordon knows how tough game two will be.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you've held serve. You've got the home court advantage, you've held serve.
Valid.
And although it can be demoralising with a big margin, adjustments can be made.
13 points for Kendrick Davis. Like a hot knife through butter.
Again, it's all those points around the rim that have just really eaten Adelaide's defensive efficiency up, Drew.
Yeah, and they need to figure out a different strategy. This is almost to a point where you look at us in zone defense, even the Adelaide 36ers, because they are slicing and dicing.
Every single floor gets exposed on the loudest stage. That's a rare turnover from Davis. Jenkins for three. It's what he's out there to do. Haven't really seen any court time. 5 minutes in this game, 1 minute in game three on Tuesday against Southeast Melbourne. Points will count for Hunter Goodrich.
Too easy. All types of avenues to the bucket for the Sydney Kings from the start of this game to currently, as we see Chris Pongrass cheering on his former Chargers, but the defense by the Kings has forced the Sixers into 36% from the field, 27 from the three.
And Goodrich's a classic example that when you get in an environment where it's highly competitive and you've got a coach that can develop talent like Brian Gordon, you can make some quick steps. And he has certainly done that.
Even as a nominated replacement player, they've got three players not partaking in this playoff, this championship series. Sydney, Paul Cole, Kelly LaPepe hasn't played a minute this season. Tyler Robertson went down with a shoulder at the back end of the season. Hunter Goodrich comes in as a nominated replacement player and may end up being an NBL champion by the end of next week.
And it's not like he is just a passenger on this team. He had some vital minutes midway through the season when they had some troops down, and he was very good.
Let's try and reload here. Shot clock at 7. Davis gets busy and blows past Cheatham.
So tough. Always keeps his hip level below that of his defender. And Rakocevic and Goodrich into it.
What's the call?
White 31 offense.
It's going to be on Rakocevic, and that's going to be his fault. Rakocevic thinks it's a flop. Have a look at the replay here, the bottom of your screen. There was a little bit of mayo put on it, but you just can't do that. You've got 3 fouls. You just extend your arm out. It wasn't a violent push, but it was definitely a push.
You're going to get whistled for that when it's isolated. and Goodrich is just standing there basically ready to defend. And it won't be upgraded. It's just a normal foul. And Rakocevic will have a seat on the bench with number 4.
Replay center, are we okay with that? What? Sub was for Nick? No, was Island come out? Okay, we're good.
Checks and balances done by Chris Reed. 3 minutes and 7 seconds before three-quarter time. 82-49. Game 1 of the championship series. Andrew Gaze, Derek Rucker, Joe Healy, Jack Heverin with you, Felix von Hoff, Leonard Copeland, Pete Hooley. We'll be back post-game with all of the reaction. If it keeps going the way that it's going, we'll be talking about a big Sydney win first up.
If I'm like Wells, I'm taking a leaf out of what Brian George has done to Bryce Cotton and thinking about doing the same to Kendrick. Now, he's got a bit more to work with off the ball, but it can change the pattern when you're taking one of your primary players out of the contest. That's a charge.
Referee Chris Reed affirms what Andrew Gaze accurately described in real time, Jack.
That's one of the easiest ones you have to make. But you know what I'm saying, Derek? When you think of changing things up right now, if you might, well, this, unfortunately, unless there's a miracle, have a look at some things that might be worth preparing for.
Well, very good in game 3, Adelaide, but this Sydney team is a different kettle of fish. They are built differently. They're built to win it. And they're going to be very, very hard to beat.
So they had a couple of close games throughout the course of the season.
His first field goal. Tonight, Kendrick Davis has 17. He's quicker than a hiccup.
Well, I think Kendrick realizes he will not see a lot of minutes in that fourth quarter. And without a lot of games being played by the Sydney Kings over the past 4 weeks, as Kendrick just easily blows by Jenkins.
He's done that of the whole night. Terry, that's the point I'm saying is try being a lot higher, sending a double team at him, taking the ball out of his hands. Now he's got Suarez with 20. He's got his 20. Galloway's knocking him down from the three-point line. He's got 12. So there's a lot of other weapons there. But now's the time to have a real in-game experiment to see what you might try next game. Because Kendrick, to me, has had way too much freedom.
Yep. Now it's Matt Kenyon's job to try and stay in front of him. Wow. Gave it up for Torrey Craig. Even when they miss, they just miss.
Torrey Craig showing a supreme level of entitlement. Angry at the universe that shot didn't drop. And he had every right to feel good because Torrey Craig has been outstanding. Was pivotal in getting the Kings off to a good start.
Hands off to Craig at the top of the key. That's a foul. The Kendrick Davis story has been one of the biggest ones of the season, let's be honest. Goes all the way back to the off-season where he left the Adelaide 36ers after one season, signed with Sydney to play under Brian Goorjian, to play next to Matthew Dellavedova, to be guided by Andrew Bogut. And the growth and the maturity of this 26-year-old. He's leading from the front. He's led Sydney all season long.
Well, in the offseason, it was considered to be a risky maneuver by the Sydney Kings to sign Kendrick Davis, but they had faith in head coach Brian Goorjian and the Sydney Kings infrastructure overall. Matthew Dellavedova being there to mentor him. And that risk, Andrew, looks like it was categorically silly when you look at how Kendrick has performed this season.
I don't think it's any great secret that he was disappointed not to win the MVP. He told everyone on that night, nice roll by Humphries, he told everyone that night, well, I'll just go and win the championship
well,
instead.
Jack, you're bearing the lead in that I was victimized on that night.
Oh, you'll be fine. Oh.
all of a sudden it's about Derek.
Yeah.
way to bring that to attention to yourself. My goodness.
Late clock for Davis.
Wow. He knows he's not playing in the fourth quarter. He's just trying to keep himself sharp. And he's doing a hell of a job. 25 points, 7 dimes. Barely out of third gear.
90-56. A commanding performance from the Sydney Kings so far. A quarter remaining in this one. And they have got carnage on their mind. Game 1 of the championship series in the Hungry Jacks NBL.
Now's the time to get that poster waving in the air. We've got a Canon camera worth $1,500 giveaway. Folks, get those posters waving around. Banners aren't raised alone, Kings fans. Let's see those Martin Premier's posters. Keep those banners up. Who wants the camera? Canon camera coming someone's way. Are up 34. I need the energy. And you are our winner. Thanks to hard power and Cannon. You'll take home a $1,500 Canon camera. That's the energy we need, folks. Let's keep it going. One more quarter. Let's bring our Kings home.
It has been a tale of two teams in Game 1. The Kings with a dominant 34-point lead. Brian Goorjian encouraging his troops to put their foot down in the final 10 minutes, while for Mike Wells and the 36ers, it's about building momentum, focusing on one possession at a time, building towards Game 2 back on their home floor.
Well, Sydney Kings have done an excellent job against Bryce Cotton. And this season, Cotton only averaged 16 points a game in his games against the Sydney Kings, and the trend is continuing here.
Lays it up to start the quarter. How do Adelaide approach this last quarter? It's a 5-game series, so there's time for adjustments, but what do they get out of quarter number 4?
Well, it is. You're looking for small wins. You're not going to win the game, but you're looking for small wins. And like I said, I think it's a time to... Coaches have a number of different plans that they might want to go through, but you don't always have the confidence. You feel like it's a bit of a risk. Well, now's the time to test them, to see if they're worthwhile. There's a good defensive set coming out of the three-quarter time break. But I also think that they need to find a way just to have some sort of impact on the contest without winning. And that can be being really physical on the defense, not being stupid, but just making sure that the Kings know that, hey, you might have got a hold of us here tonight, but we're not going to go away. We're just going to cower off into the corner and let you have it your own way. It's not easy to do.
Craig backs in. Bryce Cotton takes care of the rebound. Derek, he looks like a man who's played a lot of postseason basketball, Bryce Cotton, and has been completely mauled tonight by Sydney.
Well, there's no doubt about that, Jack. As Flynn Cameron misses a 3, and he's just been off all postseason with his long ball. But I've got the timer on Cotton if I'm Mike Wells, and I'm probably setting it at 2.5 minutes, and then he's going to be done for the night.
That's fine for me. Because they've got plenty of time. It's not until next Friday, the next game.
So you're going to go another 5 minutes from now.
Yeah, because I'm hoping that as the Sydney Kings, maybe a bit of heat goes out of it, Bryce can knock down a few shots, he generates a bit of confidence as well. As much as he's a superstar as he is, he's still looking to get some numbers.
This is a filler for the Sydney Kings. 93-58. Tangerine timeout.
Well, he just decided to take Bryce out of the game. So you suspect that might be it for him. With this long to go. So it's a little bit earlier than perhaps I would have, but understandably so.
We're back on Friday at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, which will be no doubt a sellout by the time we get there. The question is, what sort of psychological wounds will Adelaide carry into game 2?
Sometimes these big losses are easier to get over. And especially in a game 1, you just evaluate it, move on.
Forever, the final chamber tour is coming. Scan the QR code for 20% off your ticket.
So it looks like the night's done for Bryce Cott. He will rest that weary body. Tim Suarez with 3 made threes tonight on the Mitsubishi Motors 3-point leaderboard. 20 points for the game to go with 7 rebounds. The Brazilian is a plus 25 in this game.
Yeah, there's a lot of pluses that we can see on the Sydney Kings. In fact, there are. I can't seem to see any negatives at this point in time, but Kendrick Davis, we might have seen the last of him as well, you suspect. You wouldn't want to risk anything. And I think, Derek, the point that you made a little earlier, now this will sound ridiculous, but sometimes it's a little easier to come back from a really large spifflication than it is a heartbreaking loss at the buzzer when you feel like you had the game won. You almost say, well, this is an aberration. This is not us. And it's just one of those games. Now, you still have to make some adjustments, clearly.
But it's easier to detach emotionally from this result.
You know what, you're informed. That is the Davison IQ coming out again.
Also a good one for those with the Andrew Gaze bingo card at home. You can tick spifflication off your list.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, it is. Next. We'll see if that gets any work done, but no,
I think he can work his way down the list with 7:21 to go in this game.
Oh, yeah, we got some free time here.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna hurt, Jack. There's no doubt. They hop on that plane back to Adelaide tomorrow. There's gonna be a lot of pain, but come Monday morning, they'll be back at it.
And like you said, it's a little embarrassing.
Yeah.
But you don't have the same emotional impact than a shot at the buzzer when you was 8 up with 3 minutes to go and you blow one. And Suarez, that's what Mike Wells needs to be really concerned about. Suarez catches it at the 3-point line. They're not completely uncontested, but gets all the way to the cup. And they are the buckets. The points in the paint, particularly off the dribble, is the area of urgency they need to try and figure out.
Concern there for Jalen Galloway. Joel will keep an eye on that one shortly. Finished by Nick Rakocevic.
Full credit to the Sydney Kings, though. This has been one of the best Game 1 performances of a championship series we've seen in a number of years.
Yeah.
Sharp. Focused defensively.
But it knocks it back to the advantage of Adelaide.
It can turn so quickly. And Kelly just playing bully ball, gets the bucket, but I remember back in '97, with Tigers, we were on a 17, I think, game win streak, and then absolutely give it to the Brian Georgian Magic, and thinking, well, one more, we got this thing, and let's go and party. And then, unfortunately, they came out and rolled us in game 2. So it can turn.
Looks to be okay there, Jalen Galloway, just having a chat to the Kings doctor.
You know, coming back, it's like when the love of your life dumps you, Jack. And you go back and you realize it can't get much worse than this. And there's almost a freedom that the Adelaide 36ers can attack the weak.
She hasn't dumped me yet. She's watching, by the way. Love you, darling. She hasn't dumped me.
Boy, I feel like we're delving into Derek's personal life a little bit too much.
We need another quarter for that. Easy 2 for Torrey Craig.
Tim Suarez has been amazing in this basketball game.
Yeah.
Had the Midas touch all over the floor, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists.
But it's been a masterclass from Brian Georgian and the scout. And White's been one of their best players for the Adelaide 36ers. But just every action that the Adelaide 36ers have got involved in, almost every one of them, they knew what was coming and they had a plan for how to guard each of the actions.
Supreme ball movement from Sydney. Their three-point shooting has been superb. 11 of 21 for the night. Watch Malawatch takes his evening to 12 points.
And if there was another award, like, say, a Role Clarity Award, as Rakocevic draws a foul, if there was an end-of-season Role Clarity Award, Watch Malawatch would be the guy, as the Amy replay displays tremendous ball movement, and Watch is able to knock down that 3-ball on the left wing.
Brian Georgian just said, because it didn't look like a charge, because they said he was in the no-charge circle. Brian Georgian didn't like it, and he's using up a review.
Well, there's a bit going on here with Nick Rakocevic and Andrew Bogut. Just Rakocevic having a chat to the officials, and Andrew Bogut said, get out of here.
Let's have a look. Well, he wasn't in the no-charge circle.
Is that a charge, Drew?
That looked like a charge to me.
This angle will give us a better look at it. Bruce's hands are vertical. I believe this is going to be successful, Andrew, since you didn't want to go out there.
No, I went out there and said, yeah, that's a charge. But originally the official said he was in the no-charge circle, so they got that one wrong. And Terry Rucker claims it, but it was really on the back of the support that I was providing that gave him any sort of courage to have a go.
The coach's challenge to be successful. How good would it be if you could be successful and win the Mitsubishi Outlander LS Black Edition, the same one that the GOAT Andrew Gaze cruises around in the streets of Melbourne?
I don't have the black.
You might have one coming. The code word is power. I don't know that, but I was mid-sentence.
Appreciate it.
Jump online and enter now. It is a sensational vehicle.
Oh, is it ever?
And this will be 5 fouls on Nick Rakocevic. The night just goes from bad to worse for Adelaide. Brian Georgian happy to spill the bench now. Give his stars a rest. What an opportunity here for a couple of the youngsters to get their first taste of championship basketball. Luthuan will get to play the last 4.5 minutes. So will Gotch Maluel.
And good minutes too, 4.5 minutes. It's
good minutes.
You've got enough to really get a sweat up and get yourself involved in the game.
Keanu Rasmussen also on the floor for Adelaide. Likewise, Michael Harris, who wasn't required during the playoff series against Southeast Melbourne.
And if I'm the Sydney Kings, trying to find a way in this junk time to get Dwight Noy going. He has had a tough time of it the last 5 or 6 games. held scoreless in that last game against the Perth Wildcats.
Yeah, he's been inaccurate from deep, which is something that we expect Noy to be superb at. And today's only attempted 2 shots in this game.
And that's my point. I think right now you almost make a target of him. Try and get him, draw up your plays to get him some shots.
Big block from Maliwell. Yeah, we've got plenty to say out there at the moment. The Sydney Kings, Sean Bruce and Mike Wells going back and forth.
I find that hard to believe that Sean Bruce is involved in a little bit of chit-chat.
So, Andrew Gaze, you're coaching the Adelaide 36ers. The next, feels like the next 24 to 48 hours is crucial for them. What happens next? How do you approach this if you're Mike Wells and the Adelaide team?
Well, you're trying to make sure that you maintain the belief and the confidence, and you're going to be able to get in a practice environment. That's the good thing about this. You don't have that luxury from 2 to 3, but you've got a few days here where you can actually get on the court, and what we need to do defensively and strategically how we're going to play some of their key guys. Let's revise that plan. And also, how do we deal with the double teams with Bryce? And that's not about Bryce scoring more, it's how, it could be, but it's also about how, when someone's open, how are we going to get them the ball?
Great shot clock again for Sydney.
Oh, my. Rocking the baby. Sean Bruce celebrating the birth of his second. Knocks down a deep 3. Welcome back, Brucey, and congratulations.
It's almost Parramatta deep. Harris is a shooter who's barely seen minutes under Mike Wells in the second half of the season. Knocks it back to 37. Sydney's biggest ever win in a playoff game was 34 against the Brisbane Bullets in 2005.
Oh, Jack, cut me deep.
Sorry, Derek.
Jack. You guys have been doing some conspiratorial stuff tonight, I've noticed, too. I'm going to go back and watch this game. I might have send out a little memo to you guys tomorrow.
Well, what it is,
another one for you.
What it is, it was just, you know, there was an MVP performance by you because the self-injection into some certain plays that you were able to do, it was elite. And that's elite there. Put the baby, rock the baby. And good on him.
And a warm applause for Jason Spurgeon, who takes the floor for Sydney. A foot injury before the year started. It looked like he wouldn't take any action at all in NBL26. He's going to get a chance to step out and play in this game. He gets his hands on it straight away. I mentioned, Derek, that Adelaide, their last championship. Came quite some time ago, 2001, 2002. Where were you when that was happening?
I was crying sidelines, Jack, after we got blown out in Adelaide in Game 3, if you needed to know.
Brett Maher with a 30-piece in Game 3.
I'll be going home and straight to bed.
That's a lot. Long way to go in the series. Sydney Kings been a dominant force from the opening tip. Led by 8 at quarter time, and it just got better and better. Take from Kelly Rasmussen.
Let's go, Sydney, let's go.
Spurgeon backs in, and the big man scores.
Nice move there.
Yeah, it is. And we talk about small ball. This is small ball on steroids right now for the Adelaide 36ers. They've just thrown all concepts, everything, all their structures out just to get these guys some run this last 4.5, 5 minutes.
They're having a lot of fun, the Kings bench. Game 2 is Adelaide's turn at the Entertainment Centre. If you're a 36ers fan and you don't already have your ticket, I would suggest that you do it swift. Quick sticks. Because it was a sellout on Tuesday, sellout in Game 1. And It looks to be the way that it's headed when we get back there on Friday. Kings have absolutely slaughtered Adelaide in the rebound count. Asmussen wins it back for the 36ers. Blocked by Spurgeon, though.
Well, Jack, they've shot the ball at 64% to Adelaide 35%. A 64% is phenomenal. Oh, my goodness.
Jason Spurgeon, welcome back. Game 1. What a time to return. A feel-good moment here at Kudos Bank Arena. On the front end, gets the block shot. And on the back end, says, I got it. 3-ball, Spurgeon. Kings are celebrating.
They stand as one inside Kudos Bank Arena. They know how big this win is, and they know the damage that their team has been able to inflict on Adelaide.
And you look at this defensive performance, and this can be replicated, Andrew. Certainly game 2 is going to have a different complexion to it, but the foundation is this Sydney Kings defense.
And pace of play is so critical, like we mentioned early on, and it got out of control. Oh, my.
This place is absolutely pumping now. Sydney take an enormous advantage in game 1 of the championship series. A Saturday night slaughter at Kudos Bank Arena. 112-68 the final score. Sydney 1, Adelaide 0.
Tremendous game 1 performance. The Sydney Kings created all types of chaos, and we got chaos in front of us as Bogut and Rakocevic have words.
Well, Rakocevic wanted to shake hands. Rakocevic did not want to shake hands. Bogut put out his hand, and when he didn't shake his hand, Bogut gave him a tap on the shoulder, and Rakocevic wanted none of it.
Wow. Sydney's biggest ever win in postseason action. Adelaide's biggest ever loss in postseason action.
And a balanced performance by the Sydney Kings. Both teams huddling on the court, just trying to get their last words in. But my, that added some spice to the end of the game, Jay.
Sure did. Friday night we're at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, where the 36ers right now feel a long, long way off the pace.
Well, they do, and they were in this game. But this is not the 36ers. This is full credit to the Sydney Kings. They came out on fire, both ends of the floor. They completely dominated the game. But they've held serve. Adelaide get to go back home. They'll make some adjustments, come out, and it's not beyond them to completely change the complexion of what we saw here tonight, but they've got a lot of work to do.
The Foot Locker player of the game is with Joe here.
He is indeed. No surprises as Kendrick Davis. KD, 1 down, 2 to go. How important was that one?
Very important. That's what we play all year for, to get home court advantage. We didn't want to lose on our home floor. But we know it's just one game, and we got 2 hard ones to go.
That felt like a really complete team performance. A lot of guys contributing. Where does that rate for you over the course of the season?
It's a good one just because these are the 2 best teams standing. So anytime you can get a win, no matter what it's by, we happy, but we know they're going to give us their best shot in Adelaide. We know that's the hard place to play. We got major respect for them, but everybody showed up today. Coaches had us prepared.
And just quickly, how good was it to see the likes of Jay Spurgeon at the end there getting involved on his return?
Great, man, because when I got here, he got hurt the day I got here, and I was kind of sad because I know the work we put in, And we battled injuries throughout the year. Like, we still playing for Kelly. We've been through adversity, and just to see them back on the floor, go to our physios, Trent, Josh, Dave, like they work all day with us. So, man, I'm happy for them, but I'm happy for everybody.
Congrats on the win. Good luck for the rest of it.
Thank you.
He's determined to be an NBL champion, Kendrick Davis. And that determination helped him to be the Foot Locker player of the game tonight. 25 points, 7 assists. Unstoppable.
And he's such a better player than we saw last season. He's more patient. He's willing to let the game evolve and then figure out ways for him to impact. And in that third quarter, he decided to put the foot down, and he was outstanding. I thought also his defense was very good in helping limit what the Adelaide 36ers perimeter guys were trying to do.
Yeah, the numbers are stereotypically what he does, and they were really impressive. But I guess because they had such a huge margin, you just didn't feel like that they were as spectacular and meaningful as they had been in the past. But he set the tempo, and full credit to him. He was prepared to get others involved and go along with the party.
Why don't we get back over to Joe?
Thanks, Secretary Craig, with Victoria. One of your best defensive performances for the Kings of the season since you've been with the team. Talk me through that one.
It's just the finals. You know, everything matters, every possession. I've been in a lot of games like this, so I'm fortunate enough to have the experience to know the intensity and what it takes coming to games like this, and I try to show it.
You got hot early. KD was massive. Tui Suarez got into it as well. How good were they?
Oh, man, they were unbelievable. But that just shows you the kind of team we have. Any guy could explode at any given day. It could be JG, could be Wash, could be Tim, KD, myself, Noy. We just have so many weapons, and that's why I said earlier I don't think any team in the NBL has what we have.
A massive win for you guys, obviously, Game 2 on Friday night, back in Adelaide. You know they're not going to let up. How do you approach that one?
I mean, we expect it to be a fight. You know, it's the finals for a reason. The top two teams. I'm pretty sure they're gonna go back home feeling some type of way about this game. So we got to be ready for their best punch and be ready for a fight.
Enjoy this one. We'll see you Friday.
All right, thank you.
May very well have been the sliding doors moment of NBL 26. Ball Qual goes down with an unfortunate injury, and this man arrives.
And I love what Torrey Craig said, because you don't know who's going to dominate different phases of the game for the Sydney Kings. In the first quarter, it was Craig. In the second quarter, it was Tim Suarez. And in the third, it was Kendrick Davis. But right now, Torrey Craig is really impacting games early. He scores on whoever is guarding him. He is a really tough matchup, Drew.
No, he is, and the versatility he brings. Remember when he first came out here with Cairns in Brisbane? He was versatile, but you know, the perimeter shot wasn't quite there. But since being in the NBA and the work that he's put in, he's clearly